Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman is set to present the paperless Union Budget for the financial year 2022-23 at 11 am tomorrow. This will be her third budget since taking over as India's first full-time female finance minister in May 2019. And today at 12 pm, the Economic Survey 2022 will be tabled in the Parliament. The survey acts as an annual report card of the economy and also contains suggestions to the government on policy matters. It is traditionally prepared by the Chief Economic Advisor. This year, however, in the absence of a CEA, the Principal Economic Advisor and other officials are preparing the survey. Similarly, in 2014, the Economic Survey was prepared by Senior Economic Advisor Ila Patnaik and not by Chief Economic Advisor, who is usually the architect of the survey. Meanwhile, the government on Friday announced Dr. V. Anantha Nageshwaran as the new Chief Economic Advisor of the country. The post had fallen vacant after Krishnamurthy Subramanian returned to academia after completing his 3-year term on December 6 last year. The last 3 economic survey reports prepared under the guidance of Subramanian were way off the mark in predicting growth numbers. Of late, making GDP projections has become tricky. The pandemic has further complicated it. Last year's economic survey projected a growth rate of 11% for the current financial year. The first advanced estimates put it at 9.2%. In FY20, the economy contracted by 7.3%, while the survey had projected a 6 to 6.5% growth. A Business Daily, while citing officials, claimed that the economic survey could forecast the real economic growth for fiscal 2023 to be lower than the 9.2% estimated for the current financial year. Meanwhile, the budget session starting today with the address of President Ramnath Kovind will be conducted in 2 phases. The first part will go on till February 11, and after over a month in recess, the session will resume on March 14. That will conclude on April 8. The just concluded winter session of the Parliament was a complete washout when it came to economic bills. The government did not table key bills including the one on privatization of 2 public sector banks and Bharat Petroleum Corporation Limited. And experts believe that the government may not table them in the first half of the budget session due to the same challenge it had faced earlier, the elections in 5 states. Despite the sale of Air India, the government looks all set to miss its disinvestment target of 1.75 trillion rupees for FY22. Apart from privatization, the implementation of labour codes and the proposed reforms in the power sector are also lined up. Another crucial bill hanging fire is the cryptocurrency and regulation of official digital currency bill, which experts believe is unlikely to be tabled in this session too. Meanwhile, apart from employment generating measures, the government's fund allotment for the country's healthcare sector will also be keenly watched. Last year, the government had allocated just 1.8% of GDP to health.
The budget session is the longest of the 3 sessions of Parliament, and there are 2 parts. In the first half, the Finance Minister delivers the budget speech in Parliament, and any significant tax rate changes or new schemes are announced. What follows after is a general discussion of the budget in the 2 houses. At this stage, the discussion is limited to the broad proposals of the government, and at the end of the discussion, the Finance Minister gives a reply. Parliament then heads into a recess where the 24 standing committees examine the expenditure estimates of individual ministries called as demands in detail. In their examination, they look at the amount of allocation made towards the different programs and schemes under the ministry and how effectively the money has been spent. Each committee submits a report back to Parliament, and the committee's submissions are useful to understand the implications of the expenditure proposed. Once the Parliament is back from recess, Lok Sabha holds a detailed discussion on 4 to 5 demand for grants. The demands taken up for discussion change every year, and the discussion is followed by voting. The demands which have not been discussed are grouped together and voted on the last day in what's called as a guillotine. In the last stages of the process, after the demand for grants are passed, they are consolidated into an appropriation bill. This is the bill which authorizes the government to spend money from the Consolidated Fund of India. Then comes the finance bill, which includes details of tax rate changes. This is considered and passed too. Once Lok Sabha passes the budget, Rajya Sabha only has a recommendatory role in passing the appropriation and finance bills, as they are money bills. So while Lok Sabha discusses the demand for grants, Rajya Sabha spends its time examining the working of a few ministries. As with Lok Sabha, the ministry is taken up for discussion change from year to year. And that's how Parliament approves the budget every year.
Opposition Congress on Friday said that it will work closely with like-minded parties during the budget session and jointly raise matters of public importance, including farmers' issues and the border dispute with China. Last year, the budget session was cut short by 14 days in the wake of assembly elections in several states. This year too, 5 states, namely Uttar Pradesh, Punjab, Uttarakhand, Manipur and Goa are going to polls between February 10th and March 7th. With the pandemic affecting low-income segments the most, near-term measures to support incomes and boost household consumption demand are expected from the budget. We may also see some populist measures as polls are in progress. The government is also expected to take steps to generate employment at a time when India's already low rate of workforce participation is falling.
If you like this video, share it and subscribe to Business Standard. For more news, views and insights, log on to www.business-standard.com. Do also follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Telegram and LinkedIn.